Today we're going into a very important part of the business is how to tune up your system. There is a ton of scientifics around this subject, and there is a lot of advanced equipment to do this. Most of you don't have this, and most of you don't know how to operate this. And most important, it takes a lot of time if you want to do it. But I have developed over the years very reliable and quick method of doing it, and I want to show you today how I used to do it. It is a couple of things you have to have. You have to be able to create pink noise into your system. And you have to have an iPhone or an iPad with an app. We're simply going to use RTA, real-time analysis. This will after a while take you about, let's say, a maximum of 5-6 minutes, and you're good to go. Because if you don't do this, you have to do it in every room you're in, I guarantee you're gonna have a very unmanageable sound system, and this is independent on how big the system is. A system delay and things like that, it's a whole other chapter we can talk about later, but how to delay properly and how to then you're in another league of systems, and things starting to take time. If you have delay sounds, you have front fails, you have all this kind of stuff. If you hook this up and you don't delay it properly, it will create more trouble than if you leave it and don't do it. But if you have a balcony and things like that, you need a speaker system up there, and you actually need to delay it so the arrival time of whatever you're doing is the same. So the most important for you to at the moment that this I'm gonna show you now is that your front is very close to similar. The distance from the back wall is about the same on each side, and so you don't have one speaker system standing over in the corner and the next one far in the room. Then you have to delay whatever is out in the room, so it's aligned to the one further back. But assuming that this system is hang or stacked in the same distance from the back wall approximately, and actually as good as you can, then we can start our little tutorial here. You can start by sending out I need to look a little bit down because I have a remote screen here. You need to send out your pink noise like this. Now you can see it is fairly flatly tuned, but because I start in the middle, and we go to the start. That's now you can see on the screen there is a curve. I start this pink noise generator, as we call it, and you can see on the screen that you have a lot of energy going out. In the middle there is a lot of stuff missing. I'm using just for demonstration's sake, I'm using parametric EQ, but only three bands. This is inserted on the channel. Now we go to the master system, the output, and you probably have a graphic there. And we'll try to correct this. Because as you can see, it's using up a lot of energy, and and you have a absolutely low energy level in the mid. Now we're picking up EQ, and this takes actually a little longer to explain than it does to actually do. You follow your telephone, your iPad or whatever you have the RTA on. Then you open up your sending distro mixer, and you start EQing. Now you see that we're starting to take away the disturbance in the top, and then this RTA curve is starting to straighten out the frequency spectrum, and we're actually getting a completely different noise, which is gonna make your system what we call flat, but especially the graph on the side, you can see we gained a lot of energy, which we can use another place. So it takes up a lot of energy to create this hanging curve, and now we got it back. So you can see the meters to the far right is within right limits. And this is the point you decide how loud you're gonna play. And if we take, for instance, say you want to play a maximum of 95 dB, you send out the pink noise at that level. Or 97 maybe, just to have a little leeway. And then you tune the system at this level, so you will sound good between 90 and 100 dB. If you exceed it, you will start to sound harsh. If you go very much below it, you will start to just doesn't sound good. So you'll figure it out. But this is a very easy, very correct way to do it, because when you play the system, when you've done this, it's gonna sound a little flat and a little boring, but that's when your EQs are really correct, what to do on the EQ. You don't have to EQ so much because the system now plays flat. This is especially important to do if you have big subwoofers and things like that that really generate a lot of low end. You don't need all that energy going down there, because most of it you can't hear. So if you do like this, and we put a limit into the low end, how far down we want to go, it's gonna give you back all this energy that take away from the lows. You will have available in other parts of your sound. You can see on the, it's a fairly this is not very scientific, but it's good enough to make you make a very correct sound, much more correct than if you just fire up the system. So you can see now when I turn off the EQ, you get a lot of dB extra problems in the output because it's raising, and you have to compensate for all the frequencies that are lacking. Actually I'm trying to jump a little bit here, and if you use your high pass filter or bass cut or whatever you prefer to call it, it's called a high pass filter in the correct way. All the frequencies pass over your set limit. Drag it up till about let's say 35-40 hertz, because you got no energy down there to most PA systems don't play down there. It's just you're burning off a lot of amplifier energy in that region. So your amps have to work hard with something that's actually not hearable. This energy you can take away from low and put it somewhere else in your system, and you have it available. This is very important because unlike hi-fi, we are talking about how loud we're gonna play in beforehand and so forth. So I think it's extremely important that you do this before every gig, and it takes, after a while, when you get the hang of it, it takes you maybe 2-3 minutes, and then you have a flat system. And this is gonna serve you very well in every kind of environment, I promise you. When the RTA app need to be quite precise, quite good and readable, so there is a couple of them out there, and go for the pro versions and you'll be safe. I use something called RTA Pro. It's an app you can download from App Store. I use the Apple things, but I'm sure it's a lot of them for Android systems as well. You can go the whole way out with the measurement mic, and I used to do that, but I found out that this is so much quicker, so I prefer this method. In the beginning, I always took I took measurements from side to side. You should do that. After a while, when you get very experienced, you can hear, you would start to set up so you know that things are playing quite the same, and you can measure both sides. I wouldn't recommend starting with this. I would recommend starting with each side by itself, because it's probably going to be a little different EQ from side to side, but the result is important that you keep it the flat from side to side. And it's typical that you have one side with a lot of bass, and if you compensate, you can take down the bass to that side, and yeah, you will have a much more even distribution of the low range, and that's quite important. There are a lot of systems out there that you could use to do this professionally. It involves a lot more gear and a lot more knowledge. This, I thought, it's for a layman and you can do it whenever you want, but when you start involving delays and things, it's starting to get complicated. There is a lot of theory behind this, but I'm not going to go into that area. Just do what I'm saying and you will be good. So you will find it much easier to do the mix. So download an app, and the problem for a lot of guys like I have been traveling around, and there's a new system every day, and for me it's been a very quick fix, because they say you come to a place and they tune the system, and you start to play on it, and it's a very boomy, but it sounds good on the CD. I don't care, I don't give a damn about flying shit how it sounds on the CD. I want it to sound flat, so I can adjust whatever I want to adjust. Usually not much, I just do the levels right and do small bit of EQ on the instruments, and then you're there. If you really have to work the EQ on things, first of all, it takes a long time, and second of all, there is something serious wrong somewhere if you really have to tweak things. Because most musicians are particular about their sound, so they would serve you a relatively good sound to start with. That's what you're there to express. You're not there to be an artist and show them that you could tweak things to sound different than what they intended, because this sound is in the song and it's made to fit the song, so don't fuck around with that. It's important. a lot of guys think they can improve everything, and okay, to your taste you can improve it probably, but for the guys that play it, I'm not sure he agree that this is an improvement, because he made this sound for that song, so your job is to make him heard, but not too loud, not too low, etc. That's the mixing part of it. But hopefully this gonna help you a little bit. You take a few measurements around the room and see if it changes a lot. If it's a very deep room, you cannot expect your ground stack to throw it all the way down. You have a limit. But most of you are gonna, especially now with this corona crisis, you're not gonna experience this very big arena stuff, so not for a while at least. So I hope this one is gonna make you see the importance of tuning up your PA system, and this is not a big difficult thing. It sounds very difficult when people tell you, "Oh, we've spent a lot of time tuning this." Yeah, probably did. If you didn't know what you're doing, you spent a lot of time. If you're going into the waters of buying stuff to tune up stuff with, I would recommend you look into something called Fuzz Measure for Mac. For PC, I don't know. But maybe they make it for PC as well. That's a dedicated tuning software, and it's very cool. I used it a couple of times. This method goes for monitors as well. So just as you know, send your ping points to the fallback system and tune each and every monitor. Then you have a ball on a job. You can have much more monitor than you used to have. And the monitor's gonna get heard, because sometimes monitor sounds like a sick cat, and that's not the point. It should sound good. Well, as usual, go out and grab your mic, go do something destructive, and start measure things. It's important.